When you protect your purpose protects you. Now, I want to unpack that. What I mean by that is your purpose is like a rare jewel and a rare gemstone. And imagine you were walking around with the most expensive diamond or jewel in the world. How would you protect it? You wouldn't just wear it on your chest. You'd protect it. And so your purpose is like that. And guess what? Wow. People are going to tell you every day that that jewel is not worth anything. They're going to tell you that that jewel is actually valueless. It doesn't have any impact on your life. They're going to try and take away that value. They're going to tell you that there's another jewel out there that you need to have more value. I love the word. Look at the wording. Protect your purpose. You have to protect it. So what happens is your success grows. You get more opportunities, more ideas, more things coming your way. Temptations. But they can all take you away from your purpose. And to me, I'm repeating this for myself because I'm like, I just want to stick to what I was born to do. And I'm so grateful that I get to do it. I'm so happy I get to do it. And I want to keep protecting it. I don't want to get lost in the waves. You know, you don't want to just get chucked in the waves of the ocean and just get lost and just not know where you're going. So for me, when you protect your purpose protects you.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle.
But you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best.
So today, let's learn from one of the best, Jay Shetty, and my take on his top 10 was a success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, focus on the process.
When I think back to all the biggest changes that I made or biggest progress that we've made, it all came from lots of small things. So at one point I remember sending an email every day to someone who I wanted to offer me a job. And I think about that getting the job was a big thing, but it came down to 30 emails. And those 30 emails came down to 30 moments. And those 30 moments came down to one intention, to want to live my purpose. And so you could say a really big thing happened based on a ton of really small things. And I think that's what's interesting, that it's always a collection of small things that lead to a big win, as opposed to one small thing or one big thing. Most of us are scared of trying because we're scared of a bad result. We're scared of rejection. We're scared of a negative outcome. And that often stops us from starting. I realized that if I get addicted to the process, if I get addicted to figuring out how I can pivot, how can I adapt, allowing myself to make mistakes, but constantly trying to tweak my approach and my methodology, then I'm convinced that I'll figure out how to get to the right outcome. So if the result isn't what I wanted, I go back to the process and I start adapting and messing around with the process. But if your focus always shifts back to the methodology and the approach, then you'll never go wrong, in my opinion.
Rule number 3, make things happen.
We can believe things at our core, but are we acting at them on our core, right? Are we acting on them? Are we actually taking action? Are we actually becoming activated and making change or trying to make change? When we are, believing, making things happen actually attract resources. So focusing on resources at the get-go isn't necessarily what you need. What we need to do is focus on the authenticity of what we're trying to achieve. Vani, we always have doubt whether our opinion matters or not. And sometimes we think that our social status might hinder us from making change. How do we overcome this? Vani, great point. Let's take a look at the case for Malala. Social change is different from business. In business, our social status matters. In business, our achievements matter. In business, our grades matter, right? But social change is about authenticity and genuineness and the true belief in a cause. If you look at anyone having massive change today in those spaces, they may be coming from business and making change. That's awesome, right? They've already established themselves in another industry and now they're bringing that to something that they care about. But if you look at grassroots level change in any area, it's coming from people who don't have degrees in that area, who don't have a background in that area, who haven't made money in that area, but they care about it. And that's why an authentic program of change, not just speaking about stuff, not just writing about stuff, but actually creating small groups of change, small pockets of change, activating individuals to start making a difference. That's something that everyone can connect with. That's something that attracts attention. So when you're doubting your opinion or whether your opinion matters, recognize you're probably right. Most of our opinions don't matter. Everyone has an opinion. If I share something about Standing Rock today, so many people around us will have an opinion. But the key is how many people are turning that opinion into action. So it's true, our opinion may not matter. But as soon as we start turning that opinion into genuine and authentic action, that will attract interest from the right people.
Rule number 4, find balance.
The reason why people think you either have to be spiritual or financially successful is because they think, well, if you're going down the spiritual path, money can be a distraction, or if you're going down money, then spirituality will distract you. And that is true. That is real. Like, you can get really materialistic trying to be spiritual.
Sure.
And you can become distracted from your materialism by being spiritual. That is true. But the goal of life is to live in that paradox, like in that middle point of trying to figure it out. So I often say to people, like, I don't consider that and I know we both feel this way, we haven't figured it out. We don't know everything about everything, but I'm trying to toggle with that because I believe that the truth is in the middle. The truth isn't in the either or.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, seek a positive change.
That's part of the journey of a genuine change maker, a positive change maker, a motivator, is remembering that you're doing this for you and to serve. It's not for wanting something back, right? Part of this journey of connecting with others, sharing with others, is to recognize that your reward is in the motivating. It's not through something that person has to come back and do for you. You'll find in your life many people that you've served and helped that won't come back to do the same, but you'll notice there'll be other people who'll come back and do the same for you. Recognize we're always in that journey. People are helping us in ways that we've never helped them. We're helping others in ways that they've never helped us. That's how the world goes around. That's how it works, right? Just accepting that really, really helps us. Anima, how can we motivate our loved ones in being enlightened in a spiritual path? Spirituality is hard to motivate people by. They'll be more motivated by a change in your behavior than they will through your sharing of what it is. And I've noticed that more in spirituality than anything else. When someone comes back and starts telling you to practice spirituality, etc., it can be quite scary. It can be, oh my God, what kind of change is required? And often the hardest thing about that is that they don't notice a change in behavior in the individual propagating spirituality. So for any spiritual practitioners out there, the main key is seeing a change in your behavior. Your example will carry it much further.
Rule number 6, just get
moving.
If you make a long list of the stuff you need, you'll spend so much time trying to get that stuff to get started that most people never get started. That's actually one of the biggest challenges. When you're getting started, get started with creating something rather than getting started with a list of what you need to create something bigger, right? Start with something. It's called an MVP in technology, right? A minimum viable product. Come up with something minimum viable, something that works. You don't need to be a perfectionist. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just get something moving, right? Get a model moving that allows people to see what you're trying to create. Another example I wanted to give was a lady called, well, a young girl, 19 years old at the time, called Brittany Wenger. She was at that time Times 30 people under 30 making a massive change in the world. She created a computer system to detect leukemia, and it was being tested across the world, 99% accurate, but that's what she created. And it's incredible because her drive, again, was to help people, right? So the key thing we find here is that when you want to help people, that's what drives you. And then you're not worried about these resources. And an incredible conversation that I recently heard about was between someone who asked Mother Teresa a question, right? They asked her a question. She was asked, what was your fundraising strategy? Right? Mother Teresa was once asked, what was your fundraising strategy? Her response was, and this is mind-blowing, her response was, I just pray. Whatever I get is what I need, right? When Mother Teresa was asked, what is your fundraising strategy? She said, I just pray. Whatever I get is what I need. She had so much belief, so much conviction, so much depth, genuineness, and authenticity in her intention That drove her work, that she had faith and belief that it would attract what it needed, right? It attracted the right kind of focus. It attracted the right kind of support. And that's why when we're so rooted in our why, when we're so rooted in the change we're trying to make, that takes away the challenge, that takes away the incredible reach as to how far we feel things we are, right? The things that we think we need that feel so far away almost don't even bother us anymore because we know what we can start with right now.
Rule number 7, transform fears into action.
I tend to become very, very scared of like losing people, like friends, people I love, parents as they grow, and so forth. And I live in that constant fear. So how do you overcome that?
Often we live at the other extreme. So the other extreme is we never think about them. And then when they go, we feel heartbroken that we didn't care. And then you're on the other end where you think about them too much, where now that anxiety is overwhelming and it's painful. So what we have to do is we have to transform that fear into action. We have to transform that fear into love. And the way you do that is every time you feel that, you create a habit, you create a practice around how you're going to show that person love. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and there are some that I wish I could change, and there are some that I'm really glad that I can't change. And what I've realized more and more and more is that when you try and avoid mistakes, you often make worse ones than when you just allow things to flow. And so what I would encourage everyone to do is give yourself the permission. It's not society, it's no one else, it's us giving ourselves the permission that it's okay if I don't know everything. And it's okay if I don't understand everything. Because if I never try, I will never know and I will never understand. If I tried to be perfect, I would never have put out my first video. If I tried to be perfect, I wouldn't have a podcast. If I tried to be perfect, I would never have released a book. If I tried to be perfect, I would not be here today. Because the desire for perfection blocks you from progress, your potential, your passion, and your purpose. So let go of perfection. It doesn't exist. We're all far from perfect.
Rule number 8, start small.
Doing a job just because it pays the bills and takes care of what you need, and then having time to figure out your passions and what else you want to do, that's a beautiful place to start. That's where I started. I think that's probably where you started too. It's like you start with just a base, and I think too many people hate on their current life because they want this passion life. But hating on your current life is just training yourself to hate on your future life. And I think we don't recognize that.
So never be happy where you're at.
Yeah. And I'm not saying you're going to love, like I would say I've done so many jobs in my life that I honestly did not love.
Me too.
But I choose, and I did everything from stacking shelves at grocery stores to working in retail to delivering newspapers. I calculated the other day, I've been working now for 20 years because I started working when I was 14, 34 now. So I've been working for 20 years. And I've done, I would say that up until 6 years ago, most of the jobs I didn't want to do.
Wow.
But all of them, I learned to take a skill that I use today. And so now when I look back, I'm like, oh, well, being a delivery boy taught me discipline because I had to do all the streets in my area without any reciprocation in the rain and lugging around this delivery news thing, which didn't make me look cool. I missed out on hanging out with friends, whatever, but it taught me discipline.
Rule number 9, create a habit of motivation.
Motivation is something you've got to find every day, just like you've got to take a shower every day. So it's not that one day of getting motivation is going to last the whole time. Find what motivates you, do it daily, whether it's watching a TED Talk, whether it's watching or tuning into one of these live sessions, whether it's reading a page of a book, whatever it is, make sure you do it daily. That's how you keep something consistent, making it part of your daily routine. Divya, what are the smallest things that one can do to keep oneself motivated on a daily basis? So yeah, just gave some tips right there. Read the same thing every day. Read a part of a book, read a chapter, read a page, create daily habits, meditate on a daily basis, create daily habits that work for you around meditation, reading, ideas, connections, insights, whatever it is that just sparks that throughout your day. I know for me, it's reading a quote every day. Quotes keep me going, keep me excited, keep my minds on the right thoughts. Meditating makes a massive difference for me as well.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is use powerful words.
There once was a wise sage who wandered the countryside. One day as he passed a near village, he was approached by a woman who told him that there was a sick child nearby. The concerned sage went to see if he could help the child. So the sage came to the village and a crowd gathered around him. For such a man was a rare sight for them to have seen. One woman brought the sick child to him and he said a prayer over her. "Do you really think your prayer will help her when the medicine has failed?" yelled a man from the crowd. The sage replied, "You know nothing of such things. You're a stupid fool." The whole crowd was in shock. The man became really angry with these words and his face grew hot and red. He was about to say something or perhaps strike out when the sage walked over, put his hand on his shoulder and said, "If one word has such power to make you so angry and hot, may not another word have the power to heal?" And that way the sage healed 2 people that day. Our words have more power than we even believe. Our words define our reality. We need to pick them carefully. And make sure you taste your words before you spit them out. Whenever you give out any energy, love, hate, anger, kindness, you will always get it back, one way or another. Love is like a circle. Whatever love you give out, it always comes back to you. I was just showing Sally a Facebook memory backstage 7 years ago. I love Facebook reminders.
Look at this.
It showed me that I was speaking to this little group of students about 7 mistakes people make in their 20s. And it was a memory of a talk that I was giving 6 and 7 years ago. I released my first video 5 years ago. So 6 and 7 years ago, most people didn't know who I was and what I was doing. I had an event in London called Conscious Living. So it was on a Friday night in the city and 5 to 10 people would show up every week. That's it, 5 to 10 people. And I remember loving it. And I remember feeling so happy and so grateful that 5 to 10 people showed up. And I feel the same way about the first 5 to 10 people that followed me and commented on my videos. And I feel the same way about the first 5 to 10 people when I finally got to meet them. And I found that if you can love one person, if you can deeply feel grateful for one person, then thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions will come from that. But if you struggle to be present and connected to that one person, it's really hard to be trusted by the universe with more. What is it that success looks like for you? And don't make it about a number. Don't make it about a count of views. Don't make it about a follower. Don't make it about a size of home, because those things are great for success, but they're not great for happiness. My measure of success is, can I wake up and do something I love every day? When you're going on a long car trip, you take your car to the mechanic first, right? To get things recalibrated, realigned, and ready to go. That's our second M. How we're going to recalibrate for our new journey is to adjust our self-awareness. Neuroscientist David Eagleman says that as far as our brains are concerned as adults, we are more like our peers than our childhood selves. Yet when we think about who we are, we mostly base our ideas on our younger self. So tune up your self-awareness. You're going to go on a data gathering expedition among those who know you best. Simon Sinek, the author of Start With Why, has a great exercise for this. When people say, I don't know what I'm good at, or I don't really know what my unique abilities are, that's because it can be hard to get an accurate picture of yourself from the inside, right? There's a saying that you can't read the label from inside the jar. So you're going to ask people outside your jar to help you out.
Can you help me?
You're going to ask 3 to 5 people who know you well, it may be personal, professional, friends, to describe for you what makes you special. Ask them, Simon recommends, why are you friends with me? Why did you pick me as your partner? Or what makes me stand out as an employee? Or what do you really like about me as your parent? Now beware, most people will answer first with something general. You're smart, you're funny, you're a good listener. That's not deep enough.
Anything else?
Ask for more. For example, lots of people are funny. Why are you friends with me instead of someone else who's funny? Or lots of employees are dedicated. Can you give me more detail, like a specific incident or example that really showed you that?
Tell me more.
Then you'll start getting the truly helpful data and information, such as, I love the way you use humor to make other people feel welcome and comfortable. Or you have this ability to take our discussions deeper by bringing in insights from lots of other fields.
That's very nice of you to say.
You'll start to see yourself through others' eyes and get an understanding of what's working, what your strengths are that you can go deeper on and maximize, and what makes you uniquely you. Here's an awesome idea. Convene a feel-good roundtable in person or over Zoom with a few good friends or family members, or even do this with co-workers, where you go around and tell each other some of your greatest strengths in detail. Then you're spreading the love and the joy and the support as well, and it doesn't feel as awkward as just asking it for yourself.
Please don't make this awkward for me.
Okay, so what else do we need to start a journey strong? We need some idea of where we're going, right? A map. That's our third M. You've just learned about all these great things you've got going for you, but no doubt you also have an area or 2 or 12, that's me, where you'd like to grow. So we're going to create a map of how to get there. And one way you can do that is to pick a mentor. Someone who embodies that quality or those qualities you're looking to grow this year. One of my greatest mentors is Martin Luther King Jr., specifically the way he inspired people for a meaningful cause and connected people through his powerful words. Maybe if you want to become better at relating to others, your mentor is Oprah Winfrey. Maybe if you want to be more strategic and thoughtful when it comes to business, it's your father or mother. That was the case for John Mackey, the founder of Whole Foods. His father was his business mentor for years. Maybe if you want to cultivate innovation or persistence, your mentor is someone like Sir James Dyson or Richard Branson. Next, figure out basic, simple ways to connect with your mentor regularly. If it's not someone you can connect with in real life, you can read their work, watch their videos, listen to a podcast, read about their lives, tape an inspiring fact about them or quote from them above your desk, or put it into your wallet. Remember, it's not that you want to mimic your mentor. You want to be yourself and combine those strengths you're developing with those great strengths you already have in place. But if you look at some of the geography your mentor has traveled, it can help provide you with your own map for developing those strengths. Harvard did a research study on 3,000 leaders, managers, individuals working inside organizations, and they looked at the top performing ones and they wondered and asked, what was the number one skill they had? And it came down to this one word: associating. The ability to connect dots where people usually see differences. The ability to find parallels and similarities and synergies where other people only see divide and disconnection. We live in these echo chambers inside our organizations. We get lost around the same group of 3 to 4 people. We get lost in the same mini groups of people, and we don't expand our minds beyond that. People with broader networks, people who had people in their lives that were very different from the other people, were actually able to provide more creative, more productive, more effective ideas and solutions in the company, because they were able to look at things from multiple angles, different perspectives. How can we start to recognize that when we win and someone else wins, when we win together, when we're able to help and serve and support each other together, that so much more can happen? Life is challenging. It's full of ups and downs. We think, I wish things could just be still. I wish things would stop changing. I wish my problems would go away. We want a life that's steady with a path that's flat. Yet as Deborah Evans once said, life is like an EKG. Without the ups and downs, you're not living. Because this is what a flat line looks like. And this is what a lifeline looks like. When we feel those highest highs, those extreme peaks, we're ecstatic to be on the summit. Then when we're in the lowest lows, those deep values, we're ready to submit. And so we try and play it safe and avoid all risks. But when we seek security and prioritize passiveness, we don't realize that a flat lifeline means we're dead. If we're always trying to live our lives at sea level, then we'll never see what life is truly about. That what we judge as good and bad are in fact deeply connected. How could we ever experience how wonderful happiness is if we never felt sadness? How could we taste the triumph of success if we never failed? How could we know the comfort of gratitude if we never experienced loss? Somehow we got the idea that being successful and moving forward in life means we're constantly moving up. But have you ever read a book, watched a movie, or seen a case study like that? They don't exist. Every story worth telling has peaks and valleys, successes and setbacks. Our brains are wired for novelty. When something's new, whether it's a fantastic surprise or a huge challenge, our brains light up. We thrive on learning and our opportunities to grow. Yet our brains also easily become accustomed to patterns, making it harder for us to change. Dramatic disruptions help us break these patterns and invite us to see and experience the world in a whole new way. And as it turns out, we're designed for change, all the way down to ourselves. Your body is constantly being reinvented, replacing most of itself every 7 to 15 years, even down to our bones. The universe is constantly shifting, and we are part of that. When we try and resist change, it goes against our very nature. In the journey of life, we experience pleasure and pain. There'll be sunshine and rain, there'll be loss and gain, but we must learn to keep moving forward again and again. So if you opened your eyes this morning, if you were healthy enough to move about, to maybe get yourself some food, if you were able to go to a refrigerator and find that it was full and stocked, if you were able to put on some clothes, and if you had a roof over your head, just remember how grateful you can be for all those things we consider to be basic, but for others, they don't even have access to. We can't stop life's ups and downs, but we can change how we experience them. We can learn to go with life's flow. Because as Helen Keller once said, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. Social scientist Tim Kasser studies values and goals, including 2 types of motivation: extrinsic, such as for money, image, or status, and intrinsic, such as for personal growth, close relationships, and making the world a better place. He and his colleagues have consistently found that people who place a high value on extrinsic versus intrinsic goals are less happy and report lower levels of satisfaction with life, along with higher levels of anxiety and depression. And external rewards can even decrease the internal motivation you already have. Researchers took a group of kids at a nursery school who had a natural love of drawing. In one group, the children were just left to draw. In another, they were told they could earn a good player award, which included a ribbon and a certificate if they drew a picture. 2 weeks later, the same kids were offered the opportunity to draw pictures. Those who were allowed to just draw showed the same high level of interest in drawing the second time around. But those who were told they could earn a reward by drawing a picture the first time around were half as likely to want to draw another picture.
What's in it for me?
The external reward actually made them less motivated to draw. When we do things out of intrinsic motivation, we're more likely to find meaning and purpose in our lives and our work. For Katrina Lake, it was her love of data, along with wanting to answer the question, what could the future of retail look like? Here are 3 ways to connect with your intrinsic motivation. First, live for who you want to become. Create a vision of who you want to be in 5 years. In that vision of yourself, list out 5 ways you're feeling about your life and your work and your relationships. Are you excited, joyful, satisfied, fulfilled, driven, confident? Be as specific as possible. Now, for the next week, every time you make a choice, ask yourself if that choice will bring you closer to or take you further away from that vision of yourself in 5 years. Do you want to play a video game or read a book? Do you want to watch a movie or have a conversation? Do you want to take a class or waste time scrolling on social media? Hey, there's nothing wrong with any of those things I said. I love them all. but we need the right ratio. We need to make sure that more of our steps are leading us towards who we want to be than away. It's simple math. Tip number 2 is discover where you can connect something you're already doing or have a natural strength or inclination for to something you're passionate about, that connection point. Your passion doesn't have to pay you, but if your current job can pay your passion, that might just be as good and a good start. Check this out. When computer science professor Louis von Ahn set out to create Duolingo, he had one motivation: to make learning free. As a kid growing up in poverty, he saw so many kids who didn't have access to quality education. So he and a partner created Duolingo, a language learning app that's now used by more than 40 million people worldwide. And while the company has become tremendously profitable, Ahn's motivation was never about making money. It was about giving back. That's major intrinsic motivation, connecting your passion with a larger purpose. One of my greatest loves and one of the things that motivates me is learning. And that's the 3rd tip. Learning to love learning, and no matter what you do in life, you cannot fail. If you look at every situation and ask yourself, what can I learn here? You're going to experience 2 things. You'll get to feel curiosity, awe, and wonder. 3 things that research shows contribute to feeling satisfaction and meaning in your life. And second, if you're always focused on learning, you will never be disappointed, because even when something doesn't go the way you'd hoped or planned, you can learn from it. As Katrina Lake says, I think a lot of people find themselves unhappy in their jobs because it's not their dream. But I think at the end of the day, if you're learning and if you're working with great people, that's going to be a rewarding experience. And that's how you too can have a rewarding, fulfilling, purposeful life and career. In the Manusmriti, which I talk about in Think Like a Monk, it's a monk book, and in the verse it says, when you protect your purpose protects you. Now, I want to unpack that. What I mean by that is, your purpose is like a rare jewel and a rare gemstone. And imagine you were walking around with the most expensive diamond or jewel in the world. How would you protect it?
You want to just like
wave
it out, yeah.
Yeah, you want to just wear it on your chest.
Like this.
Like a baby.
Holding it.
Yeah.
Putting a pillow around it, a blanket, you'd like, yeah, protect it.
You'd protect it. And so your purpose is like that. And guess what? Wow. People are going to tell you every day that that jewel is not worth anything. They're going to tell you that that jewel is actually valueless. It doesn't have any impact on your life. They're going to try and take away that value. They're going to tell you that there's another jewel out there that you need to have more value. And what ends up happening is I love the word, look at the wording, protect your purpose. You have to protect it. So what happens is your success grows, you get more opportunities, more ideas, more things coming your way. Temptations. But they can all take you away from your purpose. Yeah. Distractions. And to me, I'm repeating this for myself because I'm like, I just want to stick to what I was born to do. And I'm so grateful that I get to do it. I'm so happy I get to do it. And I want to keep protecting it. I don't want to get lost in the waves. You know, you don't want to just get chucked in the waves of the ocean and just get lost and just not know where you're going. So for me, when you protect your purpose protects you.
So that's been your biggest lesson?
That's my biggest lesson.
Why? Do you feel like your purpose has been maybe distracted in some ways?
I don't think it has. But I'm saying it so it doesn't. Like
You're reminding yourself.
Yeah, I'm reminding myself. Like I'm preaching to myself right now. It's
especially
like,
being in Hollywood and the temptation of all these opportunities out here.
Totally, and I think for me it's a bigger lesson also because it gives me more faith. So I always encourage, and this is actually this is why it's my biggest lesson. I encourage so many people that I coach, so many people that I mentor, obviously everyone in my community and audience and everything, to go and follow that, go and live that purpose. And I see time and time again that when I see people trying to live their purpose, they are protected, that things work. When you're playing in your dharma and your purpose, things work, things move, you feel momentum. They happen. And I'm not saying they happen without effort, but they happen, they move. Whereas when you're not, you just constantly feel like you're grinding up against, you know, a wall. In a 2019 employee survey at PwC, 71% of millennials said their money stress had gone up over the past year.
It is stressing me me out.
And nearly half of all respondents said that they spend 3 hours or more every week thinking about or trying to sort out their finances. And money woes don't just affect us individually. 44% of young adults said that the money is the #1 stressor in their relationship.
I need to borrow some money.
And check out these stats. According to Erin Lowry, creator of the Broke Millennial blog, the average millennial graduated with $37,000 in student debt. That's in the States, and some have much more. That's enough to buy a brand new car or put a down payment on a house. Maybe you're like, yeah, don't remind me, Jay. Hey, I get it. Lots of us come from tough places financially, and you might be there now. Growing up, my family definitely was not what you'd call wealthy. For some of us, the hard times actually helped spur us on to success. Here's one of the stories that's really inspired me. It's of a young man who at 14 was evicted with his mother from their apartment and couldn't afford a place to live. By the time he was 16, he was arrested multiple times. Though he went on to secure a spot to play American football at a top college, in his junior year, he lost his spot and his NFL career opportunities with it. At one point, he found himself with only $7 in his pocket, but he kept working and striving. And today, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson says that every time he experiences a big moment of success, he reminds himself of those early struggles when his back was up against the wall and the only way to go was forward. And that's why he named his company $7 Productions. Still, even if you don't have aspirations of becoming a mega movie star, financial security is within reach. And the place to start is to stop wasting money. Now, a little disclaimer first. What I'm going to share with you is for informational purposes only. It is definitely not intended as formal, legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. You want to consult a qualified licensed professional for that. Okay, so here are those 5 big areas where you can stop wasting money and get yourself on track financially.
Take notes, boys.
Let's start with a super common one that's really simple. Financial expert Suze Orman says, if you're buying a coffee every day, you may be literally flushing your chance to be a millionaire down the drain. You know, because after the coffee goes through your body, okay, never mind, you get it. Anyway, Orman says that if you invested that $100 or more per month, so many of us spend on coffee in a Roth retirement account over 40 years with compound interest, you'd have $1 million.
What?
That's worth making your own coffee, right? Actually, the entire category of food and drink is a big one. Not only do we spend loads of money eating out for dinner, another big money waster people often overlook is lunch. Here's a quick quiz. How much do you think the average person spends on lunch in a year according to Visa? Is it A, $520, B, $1,280, and C, $2,746? If you guess C, you're right. The average person spends $2,746 per year on lunches. Now check this out. If instead of buying lunch, you invested that money every month in a basic savings account, over 20 years, you'd have, I hope you're sitting down, because this is unbelievable, you'd have $60,760.41.
I'm gonna sit down.
And that's just with basic compounding interest. Okay, so here's another big way we waste money, buying new. Now here's the thing. I know for lots of us, I'll be honest, myself included, how we look is important. We enjoy fashion, but you can continue to have your unique look and have favorite brands and still spend less money on clothing. Here's a way to do that. I have another friend who's into designer brands, but would never pay designer prices. Her secret is to shop at consignment stores. And now that there are lots of these stores online, there are tons of items to choose from. And you can even shop by your favorite brands. The other month, I complimented my friend on a sweater, and she told me she got it for 65% less than the original price. And it came brand new with the tag still attached. Plus, shopping consignment also benefits the environment because we're recirculating clothes instead of just making more stuff. Beyond clothing, there are loads of things we tend to buy brand new that we really don't need to. For example, if your iPhone breaks, you can actually buy a refurbished one directly from Apple for way less money, and they come with a warranty. And don't get me started on cars. Here's another quiz. When you drive a new car off the lot, it literally immediately loses a certain percentage of its value. What percentage is it? A, 5%, B, 10%, or C, 30%? The answer is B. According to Carfax, the second you drive a new car off the lot, it loses at least 10% in value. Over the first year, it loses about 20% of its value. That means if you spend $30,000 on a brand new car, within a year, it's worth only $24,000, and the value just keeps going down. Instead of needing everything brand new, look at what you can buy used or borrow from someone you know. And that's another way we waste money. We buy things immediately. We think of it, we get all excited, we go online and buy it. It's like when the Apple Watch first came out and I went out and bought one. I was so stoked. But no offense to the product, I discovered pretty quickly, just in time to give it back, that I didn't actually need it. I ended up returning it.
Take it back.
Instead of impulse buying, batch your purchases. If you say, oh, I need to buy that, whatever it may be, and then go to Amazon and buy it, and then later in the day, oh, I wanted to get some of that other thing I love, and then go into Amazon or another store to buy that. What happens? When you get your card statement, it all adds up, and you're like, whoa, how did I spend that much money?
I don't remember any of that.
And that's because $15 here and $10 there doesn't seem like much of the time, especially when you're using a credit card or other digital payment, because you don't see the money, you don't feel it, you don't actually have that experience of giving it away or holding on to it. Instead, when you think of something you need, and I'm putting need in quotes because it might not be a real need, but a want, put it in your cart and leave it there, or write it down on a list. Don't buy it right away. Then at some specified time, like the end of the week, look at your list or your carts and choose what it is you really need. That will give you a better idea of what you're actually spending and what you actually need versus what you want.
I think we've come to a place where we feel that freedom and the freedom of unlimited choice is power. And we've all realized, and the science and the studies all show this, that the more choice we have, the worse mistakes we make. And we make poorer decisions based on this complete limitless choice. And I found that actually when you stripped away some of that choice, your ability to make decisions grew.
My meditation teacher said to me, even in a shallow dive, you get wet, so still do it.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah. The first step is learning to appreciate where you are. Because if we can't appreciate where we are, we will never appreciate where we get to. And I often say to people, like, you're exactly where you need to be. And we're scared of accepting that because we're like, well, I don't like being here, but that's because we don't see it as part of our story. And then the third part of it truly is that I've seen the most powerful dreams be linked to service and impact. And so when your dream expands into having a service element, you get the opportunity to work harder than you've ever dreamed of. You're able to learn things that you never believed you could because we're so phenomenal at extending ourselves beyond what we know for people that we love and people we want to serve.
The first thing is that purpose is like an adult. Right? Finding your purpose is like an adult in terms of growth. Passion is like a teenager, but before you become a teenager, what are you? You're a child. Child is like the interest, and before you're a child, you're a baby. That's curiosity. So at the baby stage of passion, what you first need is curiosity. That curiosity turns into an interest, that interest turns into a passion, that passion turns into a purpose. For so many of us, we get stuck trying to be like, well, what's my passion? It's like saying, well, I should be a teenager before I'm even a baby. Let's first learn to crawl before we learn to walk or run or fly. So when we start that, we ask ourselves, what am I curious about? What could I watch documentaries about forever? What could I get excited about learning forever? What is it that I keep getting up to do even if I fail? What is it that I get motivated to learn about or hear about or read about or watch about even when I don't know so much about it? What are you naturally curious about and drawn towards in your life? That is the birthplace of your passion. It doesn't have to be a passion just yet. It just needs to be a curiosity or an interest.
Have you ever had that vacation that you've been getting ready for, that you've been so psyched about, and by the time you're ready, packing, getting ready to leave, what's happening? Stress, right? You're running around like, what do I pack? Did we put out the note for the dog sitter? Where's our Uber?
All right, here.
I know my wife and I can have our moments when we're both trying to tie things up and get ready for some time off, and it's ridiculous, right? That's how we're starting out. As we set out on our journey this new year, let's spend some time and energy deliberately setting our mindset. We're going to do it with gratitude, and here's how. Writer Marcel Proust once said, "Let us be grateful for the people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom." Kelly McGonigal is a professor and researcher at Stanford University, and her work centers on this idea that stress is neither good nor bad. It's our reaction to it that matters. She says that one of the most effective positive ways we can deal with stress is to practice gratitude. But not just any kind of gratitude. Specifically, she says that it's the gratitude that focuses on others and their impact on our lives that's most effective. Dr. McGonigal says that stress is designed to motivate us, to get us to do something. In the case of the stress of loneliness, for example, it's designed to move us to connect. And when we can feel gratitude for things others have done for us, it helps us feel more hopeful, more willing to seek help and support, and to offer help and support to others. Sounds like an amazing mindset to start out with, right?
Yeah, it does.
So, every day, for 1 week, each morning when you get up, spend 3 to 5 minutes diving deep into one beautiful or meaningful thing someone has done for you in your life. Be specific. You're grateful to your mom for helping you with your homework, or you're grateful for your best friend in 5th grade for that time he stood up to someone who is bullying you. And of course, it can be something in recent memory too. Be sure to remember the sights, sounds, and smells and what was said, so you can really reinforce that memory in your body and in your brain. You can't plan your life 30 years ahead. You don't need to. And I think that's a pressure that we put on ourselves, like, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I going to be doing when I'm 50? And it's like, well, actually, hopefully you'll be doing something that surprises you. And why not just let your life surprise you constantly? Why make it out like life is this like linear, perfect journey where like at 30, I'm going to do this, and at 40, I'm going to do this, and at 50, and it's like, well, life probably is not going to go like that. And that picture that you have rolling, because it won't fit in with what you're experiencing, that gap is the pressure that you feel in your life. The reason I'm saying don't put purpose on a pedestal is because then purpose becomes this heavy weight that you're carrying, and you're now like judging yourself that you don't know it. And if you instead make your goal to learn about purpose, learn about meaning, explore yourself, experiment, grow, now it becomes like, oh, I'm just experimenting, I'm just learning about myself. If you don't really have an interest, it's going to be really hard. And then when it comes to our soft skills, we go, oh, I'm a good communicator, I'm just going to stick to that, forget vulnerability. Or I'm a really good talker, forget listening. And that kind of all comes in together. And I think the point is that if we're always learning and figuring out a way to serve in whatever situation we're in, that's the best route for success, because that's something that no one can take away from you. We like stress out about not being motivated. We stress out about not finding purpose. But guess what? Just like you got to eat and shower, you have to find purpose in every day. I think that we have to get as intimate with our dark side as possible. And I feel like when you don't get that intimacy, you don't really understand it. I look back and I think, why did I do that? And it's just always been my desire to experiment, always been my desire to learn, always been my desire to be curious and find out more about myself. The first is to approach any situation from compassion and empathy. The other thing is to recognize that sometimes when we go through pain, it makes us pay attention. Like when we go through pain, it makes us pay attention. When things are going great, we often get complacent. We stop worrying, we get lazy, we don't worry about anything, we're just relaxing. And as soon as you feel pain, pain is a way of your body, of society, of the economy to force you to pay attention. So if you're being lazy and not eating right, your body reacts badly to tell you to stop doing that. So any pain that happens in your life, first of all, is saving you from more pain. And so for me, that's the shift that we have to go through. And that all comes from us deeply looking into our minds and going, where are these blocks turning up from? Where are they coming from? What are their roots? And then how can I replace them with the right conversation, the right dialogue internally? When it comes to your hard skills, focus on your strengths. When it comes to your soft skills, focus on your weaknesses. If you do those two things, your life will change dramatically. Because if you're good at something, you'll become exceptional at it. Beth Knopik understands 8 years ago, she lost her 16-year-old daughter, Liana, when suddenly and inexplicably, a virus Liana contracted migrated to her heart and could not be cured. After a tumultuous month in the hospital, Beth's vibrant, joyful, athletic daughter was gone. It's every parent's worst nightmare, and as you'd imagine, it catapulted Beth into what seemed like bottomless grief. And yet last year, something incredible happened. Beth gathered 14 other mothers in and around her Florida town who had all lost children for lunch. She says there wasn't a dry eye in the room, only the tears weren't from sadness. They were from joy. Somehow, each one of these mothers, some of whom had lost more than one child, were able to share positive, loving memories of their children, along with the beautiful ways their lives had changed as a result of their profound loss. Of course, every one of these women would rather have had their children back. But remarkably, they were able to take what had happened and allow something powerful to grow from it. As one of my good friends, Ray Dalio, says, pain plus reflection equals progress.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome.
For 10 more amazing rules from Simon Sinek, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
You're a highly competitive A-type personality, I get it. But if that's all you do, you're not going to be in the game for very long. But this is my point. In the infinite game, the infinite mindset is about having the strength, the will, and the resources. Will is, I really still enjoy this industry.